Hope everyone has had a fantastic start to 2020. I'm excited to be here with you guys for our first Q&A of this year. So we got a lot of questions that have been coming in over the past few days. Clearly, everybody wanting to start their new year on the healthiest note possible, making sure you're making all the right healthy moves for the new year. And there's been so many questions coming in, which is always so much fun that I can't even get through all of them in our normal daily Q&A sessions. So we're doing a live, and these are always so much fun. I love, I love the regular Q&As, but I love, in some ways even more to be able to connect with you guys live in this sense. So I'm going to start out, and we're going to start going through the questions that I have already had sent in. But part of the fun thing of this live experience is that you get to send in questions live as well. So go ahead and put them in the comments, and we will pick up some of those as we go too. So first question I thought was a really interesting one. And I'm also curious to know, to those of you who are watching, what your thoughts are on this question. And the question is, do you think a company's customer service is a reflection of the quality of their product? And it's a very interesting thing. And I think at the core, mostly yes. And I say it that way because there's going to be exceptions to everything, right? I'm sure there's companies out there that have a low quality product that still have good customer service. And I'm sure the opposite occurs, that there's a company out there who's absolutely dedicated to product quality, but just doesn't have their act together for one reason or another when it comes to customer service. However, I think that as a generalization, it totally makes sense to me that if at the core of a company they care about the well-being of their customers, and that is central to the way that they operate, well then naturally they are going to create a great product because they want to improve the lives of their customers. And two, they are naturally going to want to provide great customer service because, again, if at the core they really, really care about their customers, that's just going to be a natural next step. So I think for the most part, yes. Probably also put a caveat in there. Sometimes, small businesses will drop the ball sometimes. Miscommunications happen, accidents happen. Sometimes emails get read and you think you respond to them and you don't. We, of course, at our business try to always go above and beyond when it comes to customer service. But, I think over the years there may have been an email or two that I was late in responding to. So I apologize for that and hope it doesn't reflect negatively on our products, because you guys know how much passion and dedication we put into making the best products absolutely possible. All right. Next question is, what would be your recommended flu protocol? It's hitting my family hard this year. So, with the flu, what it's saying, a pound of prevention is worth an ounce of a cure. You want to build up immunity way before you ever get sick, so that one, ideally, you're not going to be getting sick, and two, if you do get sick, your recovery is going to be happening a lot faster. So what does that look like? It looks like not having an excess of sugar in your diet, because that's really going to be bringing down your immune system. Getting high quality sleep, not being stressed all the time. Lack of sleep and stress, those are two of the things that would bring your immunity down the fastest. Then in terms of herbs, we can look at some of those most powerful immunological herbs. These are not just herbs you take when you're sick, but herbs you take all the time to build the natural intelligence and potency of your immune system. And here we're looking at things like reishi mushroom. Astragalus would be another fantastic one. Chaga, lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail mushroom, Coriolis, it's also known as. And so these are some fantastic options in terms of immune builders, even if you're only on one or two of those. Maybe you're taking reishi and astragalus every day, and that's your long-term immunity strategy, and that is fantastic. Those are two incredible herbs. These have these long-chain sugars in them. These are called beta-glucan polysaccharides. If you were to they're wound up into little balls, but if you were to unwind them, they'd be up to like 3 feet long, and they come into your body. And basically what happens, it's kind of like a sci-fi movie. They get chopped up into smaller pieces by your white blood cells and attached to your white blood cells and start teaching them how to do their job better. It's like an operating system upgrade for your immunity. Now, if you've already gotten sick, ideally you want to hit it in the first 24 hours. Go big on these mushrooms, and then also be incorporating zinc and vitamin C, two things very well proven to shorten recovery times. So those you especially want to get on within the first 24 hours, and go for forms that are going to absorb really well. If you're doing vitamin C, do lipospheric vitamin C. That way you're going to maximize the amount that actually makes it into your bloodstream. If there's a place where you can do it near you and it's within your financial means, you can perhaps do a immune IV. There's so many places popping up nowadays that are offering this kind of thing. So that's a real wonderful thing to incorporate. Then one of my favorite herbs as well is elderberry. This is a super antiviral herb. It is an absolute godsend when it comes to protecting against viruses or fighting off viruses, as may be your situation. So elderberry is great. I love the elderberry from Gaia Herbs. You get the capsules, and it's also got acerola cherry in there with it, which is a great addition because you're getting a great botanical source of vitamin C. And so you can take those capsules and actually open them up. If you ever feel something starting to come on, it's great to hit it with the elderberry right away. You can do like 3 capsules opened in the mouth, and just don't inhale it accidentally, but hold it in your mouth, let it dissolve. It actually tastes kind of nice. It's kind of like a slightly more sour blueberry maple syrup. It's delicious stuff. And you can even get side note, you can even get like elderberry syrup and use that on your gluten-free pancakes and have a super breakfast. But elderberry, you can do like 3 capsules and then do it again in half an hour and again in another half an hour. Really load up on that. It's a great antiviral protection technique. And then, once you're sick, you can keep doing this stuff. You can take echinacea as well. But, probably the most importantly really is don't do anything. Get tons of rest. Get a lot of sleep. Make sure you're staying well hydrated. These are like really the keys. If you have a sauna accessible to you, get in the sauna once a day. But outside of that, go like hardcore when it comes to the sleep. Sleep, and then when you wake up, drink some water, go to the bathroom, go back to sleep. If you can't sleep, just close your eyes and lie there until eventually you fall asleep. Sleep is your body going into super recovery mode on all levels, whether you're sick or not. The health benefits that come to your body when you're asleep are spectacular the more you learn about them. So definitely when you have the flu, sleep is your best friend. And the greatest part about it is that you don't have to experience all the negative symptoms and the horrible feelings of being sick when you're asleep. So it's kind of really, really a win-win when it comes to that. But rest is going to be one of the biggest, most important things there. So you guys, by the way, just a reminder, anybody who wants to send in questions as we're going here, feel free to shoot them through. And in the meantime, I will keep working my way down the list of the questions that folks have sent in during the past couple of days. Next question. Okay, this is another interesting one. We've got a lot of fun ones. We've pulled together some of the best here for this live. We have others that are going to go up later in Instagram stories, but when we do live, I love to pull together some of my favorite questions for these. Next one is men's hormone health. My husband thinks he'll need testosterone shots after age 40. He thinks he will lose muscle, sex drive, strength, etc. He's healthy and athletic otherwise. I say no shot. Okay, so bioidentical testosterone after age 40. What about that? I'm not totally opposed to guys as they age using testosterone. Of course, it has to be done under the guidance of expert practitioner, or under a doctor who is specializing in bioidentical hormones, not just a doctor who says, oh yeah, maybe you might try that. I don't know that much about it. The person really has to know what they're doing, monitor you, make sure everything is done properly. Okay, Karen, you're asking about too much heat in the body. We are actually going to cover that in a question about bupleurum that I don't have on my list for tonight, but it's going to be going up in the Instagram stories, so keep an eye out for that. Formulations with bupleurum are great for clearing heat, and then we'll be going more into depth in that later. So I'm actually going to save that for later, but there'll be a great answer coming up in our IG stories later that will help you with that. Back to the testosterone question. So here, it's not so bad to do bioidentical testosterone if administered properly, monitored properly, really done professionally. But let's go back to the basic premise of the question. Do you need testosterone coming in via a cream or a pill or a shot after you turn 40? Well, it depends what else you're willing to do, right? If you are dedicated to your health in a way that you're willing to do lots of other stuff to maintain healthy testosterone levels and really support your whole endocrine system, then maybe not. There's lots of other things that can be done. If this is, if your husband here has no interest in doing any of the other things that I'm going to be talking about in a minute, and shots are the only thing he's open to doing to maintain healthy testosterone levels, he might very well be better off for it. Now, let's say he's open to trying some other things. Well, what can you do? You can go at it from so many levels. 1, high intensity interval training. 2, getting into the cold. 3, red LED light therapy on the testicles. Very powerful. Or I should say, sunlight on the testicles. You do either one of those for 20 minutes a day. It's actually a very powerful testosterone strategy. Then let's look at herbs. We want to support our whole endocrine system here, right? So this is going to look like herbs like Hoshu, Cordyceps, Cistanche, Eucomia, Morinda, Rehmannia. These are the Jing building core kidney adrenal supportive tonics here. Then we can also look at things like ashwagandha. That's very supportive of testosterone. Holy basil as well. But the one thing I caution guys, holy basil is great for testosterone, but if you are in an imminent stage of trying to start a family, you don't do it because it actually lowers sperm count, even though it increases testosterone. It's kind of a strange thing in that way. But as long as you're not, trying to start a family at this very moment, holy basil is a great thing to incorporate for testosterone. You could also look at herbs like Tongkat Ali is a fantastic one, very powerful. Polyrhacus ant is another one. And sleep, high quality sleep for the hormone production centers of your body, there's nothing like it. So if he's open to doing other stuff, fantastic. If not, and all he's going to do is a shot or nothing and just go live a conventional life. Like, I don't know your husband. I don't know anything about him or what he's open to, what he's like. But, probably better a shot than nothing. But if he's open to doing some stuff and getting proactive about this, he could end up a whole lot better off for it. Yeah, that's my feelings on that one. If you want to talk more about any of those things I mentioned there, feel free to send a follow-up question into a question box, and we can surely go more in depth. Okay, next question. What to eat or supplement with after antibiotics? And the person also said, I know you've answered before, and sorry, no need to apologize. I am always happy to relaunch questions that have come long in the past. I try not to answer the same question like more than once in a week, just because I want to keep things fresh for everybody here. But I am happy, to answer a question that has been come up a long time ago, because we've always got new people joining us. So it's important that we revisit some of this basic stuff. So after you've had antibiotics, unfortunately, you'll probably have killed off a lot of the bacteria in your gut. And we want to make sure we repopulate them and keep things like Candida from coming in and taking over. It's like this fresh territory, and Candida is one of the things that really jumps right on that and can proliferate. Now, Candida is good in small amounts in the body. It's actually beneficial to have a small amount of Candida for nutrient absorption, but having Candida overgrowth, of course, leads to all kinds of fungal problems that nobody's going to enjoy. So, taking some antifungal herbs to keep that in check, something like Pau d'Arco is a great idea. You can make your Pau d'Arco tea at home and drink that every day. Use it as the base of smoothies. Use it as the base of your herbal elixirs that you might be doing. And then you can also be taking medicinal mushrooms, things like reishi and chaga and cordyceps, that are going to give your immune system the tools to really help keep things in check in terms of fungal conditions going out of control. Then also want to introduce good bacteria to repopulate. So this can come in the form of fermented foods, things like fermented coconut kefir, fermented vegetables, sauerkraut, kimchi, and also taking really great spore-based, high-quality probiotics that have proven levels of survivability. This would look like things coming from Seed or Just Thrive, two great companies making very high-quality spore-based probiotics that you can trust are going to actually make it through the digestive system and not get killed off on the way down, and actually sit up in there. Brooklyn, you're looking for the question box. It's not like a normal question box when we do a live. It's just the comment box down below. Or I think you may see a little logo of a question mark down at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if that comes up on your end, but I'm hoping that it does. It should be there. But if you just send it in the comments in the same way that you just sent your message in right now, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so that covers that one about post-antibiotics. Yeah, you just want to make sure that the bad guys stay suppressed and reintroduce the real good guys. How can I eliminate mycotoxins from my food sources as a layperson without access to testing? Right, because the average person is not going to be able to take every food in their kitchen and send it off for laboratory testing of mycotoxins, right? So what do? Well, first, you probably want to be very cautious about incorporating foods that are at high risk for mycotoxicity into your diet. So this would be grains is a big one. And then, of course, the next step to go from that is meat and dairy of animals that have been fed grains. This is one of the big parts of why grass-fed, if you're having meat and if you're having dairy, grass-fed is so important. One, because obviously when animals are grain-fed, the meat and the dairy from them is going to be much higher in omega-6 than omega-3 and thus much more inflammatory. But it also that the grains that they're feeding them are packed full of mycotoxins. Extra benefit, right? You get a free side of mycotoxins. And that's not going to be an issue when they're just grass-fed. So that's a really important difference to notice there. And then you look at other things like peanuts. Peanuts are a big one. Peanuts that have been so hybridized that they've lost their natural resistance to mold. So, I see many very well-intentioned people on the health journey who are putting peanut butter in their smoothies or putting peanut butter on top of their chocolate or, peanut butter everywhere. And it's not great because peanuts are very high in a kind of mycotoxin called aflatoxin. Peanuts and peanut butter, peanut products are moldy. It's not good. Or they're either moldy or they got mold toxins in them. You can destroy a lot of the live mold by the cooking process, as they roast them and things like that. But you're not destroying the toxins that have been produced by the mold. That's the mycotoxins. So the one way to get around that is Amazonian jungle peanuts. These are the heirloom peanuts that still have that genetic robustness to fight off the mold, and you don't get these kind of toxins with them. Then coffee, of course, is another big one you hear people talk a lot about. And chocolate is another big one. So as you guys have heard me say, our cacao, we test the cacao powder specifically because that would concentrate it the most. If there's mycotoxins in a source of cacao, it will get the most concentrated into the powder. So we test the powder of each batch, and that it comes out completely clean, which we're very proud of. And you guys heard me mention the other day, we're embarking upon further research, university research on the medical benefits of mycotoxin-free diet. And that's going to be incorporating our cacao powder. So very proud, very excited. And it's important, very important to make your diet as free of mycotoxins as you can. Brooklyn, you're saying bioidentical hormones for starting a period, particularly promethium or progesterone and estrase. I keep getting Western remedies for my amenorrhea. If I would say I am not familiar enough with your hormone balance to tell you. And this is something that you would have to be working with a doctor, of course, who specializes in bioidentical hormones to potentially make this happen. It could be a viable solution. That said, I'm not in a position to be able to make that judgment for you. Certainly, there's lots of other things that can be supportive of amenorrhea, of reversing amenorrhea, as I know you're working on a lot of them. Healthy diet, of course. I look, a lot of what I say here, I know you're kind of an advanced student, but I share the full list of things because I know there's lots of other people that are going to be picking up on this as well. So healthy diet, minimizing stress, dealing with PTSD, having healthy levels of body fat, having healthy sources of fat in your diet, having healthy iron levels, having herbs that are supportive of the endocrine system. So we look at things like ashwagandha and white peony and gelatinized maca. And then, if you're doing all this and you need an extra kickstart, working with a doctor who's an expert in bioidentical hormones, I think is a very reasonable thing to do. And you know what? To jump back real quick to my question about mycotoxins. Sorry, I jump around a little bit here sometimes because thoughts pop into my head. I hope you guys don't mind. I hope you can stick with me. With the mycotoxins, so you stay away from sources that food sources that are highly likely to be mycotoxic, unless you have spoken with a company about it, or they've shown some testing, or you trust them that they're doing something special that is allowing the product to be free of mycotoxins or very low in its mycotoxicity. So then from there, it's not as if you stay away from the grains and the meats and the cacao from not us, basically every other cacao, quite frankly. As you're staying away from these highly mycotoxic foods, then you're going to drastically cut down the amount of mycotoxins coming in. So you'll be in a much better place in that regard. Okay, so the next question here, this is an easy one. Does Tylenol really deplete stores of glutathione? Yes, it does. Glutathione is a super important thing to have in your body, and it's depleted by lots of things. It's depleted by poor diet, poor lifestyle, by drinking, by stress, by immune challenges, because it's trying to counter these things. And yes, indeed, Tylenol is depleting your glutathione, which is an indication that Tylenol is probably not the most epic thing for your health long term, and that it's in depleting your glutathione, it's taking away that glutathione from other things that your body, I'm sure, would very much like to be doing with it. Next question, another pretty straightforward one. If a doctor prescribes an estrogen-free birth control pill post-pregnancy, is it still as dangerous? Yeah, so there's like two main categories of birth control pills. There's ones that have a synthetic progesterone and estrogen, and there's ones that are just synthetic progesterone. Look, there's basically two categories of motivations of why one would take the birth control pill, and that's to deal with other health symptoms that are coming from having very poor hormone balance, and there's to have the ability to have intercourse and not get pregnant. Either way, it's not a great strategy to take a birth control pill. If you're doing it to deal with hormone balance symptoms, sort your hormones out. This, you're replacing one set of negative health problems with a whole other set that are just going to come from this pill. And if you're doing it to not get pregnant, well, there's other birth control methods, maybe not as convenient for you, but what's more convenient than being healthy? And so, there's lots of tools you can bring together. There's things like condoms. And you can combine this with getting your man to learn how to control his ejaculation so he can orgasm without ejaculating, and get a little bit more progress in that way. If you want to talk about that, certainly we can talk more about it. And then you can use things like the AVA bracelet, which is going to analyze your various different biometrics and use that to ascertain what a 5-day fertility window is for you during the month. And then you can just be extra careful during that window of time and feel a little freer during other times. Lotus Monkey is asking, how do we find it? Where do we find it? I'm not sure. Sorry, I ran through just a couple of questions here. I'm not sure what it is. So help me out and let me know what it is you're looking for there, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Brooklyn, you say you have high potassium and high calcium. I'd wonder if it's something that you're taking in a supplement and perhaps at a higher level than you need to. Maybe you're getting enough dietarily. All right. And for everyone who's just joining in the conversation here, it's so great to see you. Happy start of 2020 to everybody. If you guys have questions as you're watching, just shoot them in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to get to all of those in addition to the list of questions I've got over here from what people have sent in over the past couple of days. Next question is, citric acid, an ingredient to avoid, is it derived from mold? So there's positives and negatives with citric acid. So it has certain benefits, actually. It is an antioxidant, it's alkalizing, it's anti-inflammatory, and that's where the benefits end. Now, citric acid, you'll see it very often used in products as a preservative, especially in products that already have a sour flavor. Citric acid is sour by nature. Citric acid naturally occurring in things like citrus fruit. That's where it gets the name, right? But this is usually synthetic citric acid grown from mold. Synthetic, it's not, well, yeah, I suppose technically it would be considered synthetic. And so here's the thing. It's often made from a GMO mold source. Not so great, right? So it's, for most people, small amounts, not going to be the end of the world. If you are mold sensitive, it's highly likely to be a trigger. And if you have sensitive digestion, acid reflux, irritable bowel, it can also be a trigger for some problems there. So for people who are not mold sensitive and in good health, having a little, if you happen to have a little bit that's in a beverage or something from time to time that's otherwise healthy, that's probably fine. But if you are sensitive in terms of digestion, or if you are sensitive to mycotoxins, probably best to be more strict about avoiding citric acid entirely. The Lotus Monkey says, my question was directed in the question of depletion as a result of taking Tylenol or drinking. Okay, so when you say where to, I'm sorry, I'm still not understanding your question. Where do we find it? What is it that you're looking for? You're looking for, are you looking for where to find how to take glutathione supplementally? Is that your question? Help me out here. I'm really trying to answer your question, but I need a little bit more clarification, if you don't mind. You're looking, okay, that's it. You're looking for where to get glutathione. All right, so glutathione is interesting as a supplement, and I'll give you a brief answer here, and we have a whole video about it on our YouTube channel. So there's things dietarily that you can use to increase your own natural glutathione production, like grass-fed whey protein or cruciferous vegetables. These are things that are going to be supportive of your own natural glutathione levels, which is cool. You can take it as a supplement, but most glutathione supplements are absolutely worthless, and here's why. Glutathione is very easily destroyed during the digestive process. So if you're taking like a capsule or a tablet that's supposedly glutathione, it's not going to make it. It's not going to make it into your blood. You're not actually going to increase your glutathione levels. It's going to get destroyed and it's worthless. If you want to supplement with glutathione, you have to take it in a liposomal form. This is in a way that you're going to take it and it's going to taste horrible. You're going to have to deal with it if you want to do it this way. You got to hold it in your mouth for at least 30 seconds, ideally more, because it's kind of expensive stuff. You want to make sure you're getting the most out of it, right? So you're going to hold it in your mouth, and because that way it's going to absorb very effectively, because the liposomal forms are highly bioavailable, and it can absorb through the thin lining of your mouth, which is especially thin underneath your tongue. So that is the way to go with glutathione supplementation. Two companies that do it very high quality are Live On Labs, that's LIVON Labs, and Quicksilver Scientific. If you want a discount on your first order from Quicksilver Scientific, go to this link which was our holiday gift guide, but there's a link in there that will get you a discount on your first order from them. It's still good now. Go to addictivewellness.com/gift guide and scroll down to the section about Quicksilver Scientific in there, and there's your 10% off. All right, so let's see here. Where are we at? Oh, any natural and herbal DHT blockers. So dihydrotestosterone, DHT, this is well known as something that plays a role in baldness. Actually, both men and women, but it's especially talked about in conversations about male baldness. So what can you do here? Three main things. Saw palmetto, Pygeum bark. It's a bit of a rarer one, not as well known as saw palmetto, but still quite good. And saw palmetto obviously very good for the prostate as well. So especially as guys are aging, saw palmetto is a nice thing to incorporate. Another thing that does both the prostate and the DHT, pumpkin seed oil. Now, there are lots of pumpkin seed oil products out there. If you want the best and you want a spectacular flavor experience, something that can be added to things that are sweet or savory, just about any recipe, and take it to the next level from a flavor experience and also be great for hormones, great for zinc, great for the prostate, look for Styrian pumpkin seed oil. It comes in a dark green bottle, green and like yellow gold label. This stuff is incredible. It is a delicacy, it's a treat, and it's so good for you. So yeah, that's DHT. All right, next question. Hi, my husband is 55. He snores a lot during sleep. I can even hear him while breathing. I don't know what that part means. Please help me. Okay, help is on the way. Various things you can do. Check out a company called Rhino-Med. Rhino like rhinoceros, R-H-I-N-O, Med. They make this thing called Mute. It's a little plastic thing. You stick it up your nose, it connects through the bottom, and it expands the nasal pathways. It's a little weird feeling at first, but you get used to it pretty fast. They actually have two product lines, one for athletes, so people who are like cyclists and runners can get way more breathing going on to really open up their airways, and they make one, it's basically the exact same product, but a different color. It's clear instead of, I think, yellow or something like that, for people to wear when sleeping, to open up their nasal pathways and give them a better chance getting more air going through the nose. So that is one great thing to do. Also, looking at things that are causing phlegm production and mucus. This is going to be things like looking at the presence of dairy in the diet, especially conventional grain-fed processed dairy products, right? And looking at overall immune system health. So looking at the immune system, here we look towards things like minimizing sugar in the diet, getting proper rest, which is going to actually get easier once you're not snoring all night, right? Incorporating medicinal mushrooms, things like reishi and chaga and lion's mane and cordyceps and coriolis, all these guys, tremella. And those are just some of the most incredible tools for the immune system, dealing with underlying immune issues in terms of fungal issues or bacterial issues or just systemic inflammation. The more you bring all this under control, it's going to help. Then, avoid especially big meals at night. That can also be a contributing factor. Vitamin C can be helpful. And if you notice that it only happens when he's sleeping on his back, one trick, this is kind of weird, but like one trick, if he's not willing to do anything else, like if he's not willing to sort out some of the underlying stuff, something you can do is you take a t-shirt that he's going to sleep in at night and you sew some tennis balls into the back so that if he rolls over on his back into the position where he would be snoring, it's immediately so uncomfortable that it properly wakes him up and just gets him to roll over onto his side where the tongue doesn't fall so much back into the airway. So that can be a way to do it. He might get annoyed with it at first, but if you just get him a collection of sleeping shirts with tennis balls sewed into the back of it, so he doesn't end up lying on his back, and that might really help without having. Oops, flip the camera there. I don't know how that happens. All right, so that's the snoring. By the way, guys, you're watching. We have 2 questions left here. So if you are sitting on a question you want to send in, we're getting into the final moment. So go ahead and shoot it through. All right. So next one. What's a good egg substitute in a recipe if avoiding flax meal due to mold? Okay, so here's how you do it, and I can very much understand you wanting to avoid flax meal, especially when it's been pre-ground. It's susceptible to mold. It's also very likely rancid. The oils in flax go rancid very easily. If you are having flax, you definitely want to get it whole and just pre-grind it right before using it. Otherwise, you're really opening the door to rancidity. So here's what you can do. You take 4 tablespoons of water. You take 1 tablespoon of chia seeds, which you're going to grind up right then, just before doing it. And you take a teaspoon of coconut oil and you mix that all together. And that's basically the equivalent of 1 egg. And you just multiply that out over however many eggs you need. And that goes really well. It's not going to provide the lift and the incredible, it's not going to fully mimic an egg experience in terms of the chemistry of what happens in the food, but it does really well to hold things together. So yeah, that's eggs. Okay, a question here. Thoughts on lion's mane? I love lion's mane. It's actually one that I've been planning to do a whole proper extensive YouTube video on soon. Lion's mane is a medicinal mushroom, and it has these long chain polysaccharides that you probably hear me mentioning it 4 or 5 times already tonight with regards to the immune system. But one of the big ways that lion's mane is working is on the brain, right? So it's improving focus, it's improving energy, not from a stimulation perspective, but just giving your body more to work with. And for long-term cognitive health, it's fantastic. For preventing cognitive decline, amazing. In looking at how it regrows the myelin sheath, this is kind of this protective coating along your nerves. It regrows the myelin sheath of the axons of the nerves. So lion's mane for brain health is spectacular. Of course, I have a bias. We sell it, but I sell it because I think it's amazing. I don't, just say it's amazing because it's something that we sell. That's not, you guys who've been watching me and know me for a while, that's not how I operate. I love something, so I found the best and I make it available. That's the order of operations. Brooklyn looking for the best place to purchase good white peony as an individual herb. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you on that one at the moment. But if I do come across one that's, retail available in the US, I will certainly let you know. Hormones in cow's milk. How much are they truly affecting our hormones? And best places to access and read scientific studies. Hormones in cow's milk are bad news. I mean, that's, if like hormone free is kind of one of the most basic levels of quality of what's happening with milk out there these days. So one, yes, it's certainly going to come through the milk and then affect your health in very unfortunate ways. And then not only that, but if it's such a low quality milk that it's hormone treated, then certainly you are going to be having it be grain fed, and then you're dealing with the inflammatory effects of that, and you're also dealing with the mycotoxicity effects of that. So if you're at the level of dairy where, look, and maybe that's the only level of dairy you can afford is dairy that's hormone treated, in that case, just pass on the dairy. It's not worth it. Wow, okay, questions really pouring in here. Hold on one second, be patient with me here, guys. So best place to access and read scientific studies. There's obviously PubMed, there's various other journals and scientific resources available online. You can access lots of them through Google Scholar. Sometimes you get the whole thing, which is fantastic. Sometimes you can only get an abstract or a summary, which is unfortunate. But hey, you take what you can get. Okay, how to detox and eliminate xenoestrogens from the body. And then that's perfect because the very next person says, okay, this is great. We're going to knock down 2 coconuts with 1 stone. We're not killing any birds here today. So one question is how to detox xenoestrogens. The next question says, this is from a different person. I remember you guys mentioning DIM, D-I-M, diindol methane. Can you remind me what that's great for? Thanks for sharing your knowledge. DIM, you just answered the previous person's question. It's a great teamwork there in the audience, you guys. DIM is a great detoxifier of estrogens, both phytoestrogens and xenoestrogens, and estrogens that for whatever reason you may be excessively producing in your body as a part of where your endocrine system is at the moment. So DIM, along with indole 3-carbinol and calcium D-glucarate, are all great tools for detoxifying excess estrogens. So there you go. And then, is there a combination of white peony and other herbs available by chance? You can't find from Dragon Herbs various formulations that include white peony. One example would be Bupleurum and peony. That's a kind of a classical Chinese formulation, very great for establishing a healthier menstrual cycle. So it could be right up your alley, as I know there's some challenges going on with amenorrhea, and for overall female hormone balance. So that could be well worth looking into. All right, let's see how we're doing on the questions here. Whoops, didn't mean to flip that screen around. Let's see. Okay, so there's this follow-up question here about the milk. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question. Well, let's follow up with that one maybe in an Instagram stories Q&A so I can get a little bit more clarity. Danielle asks, thoughts on nootropics. So I have various thoughts there. So I am really into the natural herbal forms of nootropics for the most part. Examples being ashwagandha, Siberian ginseng, cordyceps, rhodiola. These are mostly from the Chinese herbs for the most part. I mean, of course, you have ashwagandha, which is Ayurvedic. But I am more into these than some of the synthetic stuff. And I'll tell you why. We still have so much to learn about the brain and how it works. It is a mystery and a magical miracle, and we're just scratching the surface. I feel a lot safer with herbs that come with this whole host of natural biological cofactor and in a lot of ways are self-regulating. And of course you can overdo it with anything, right? Like if you're taking 10 tablespoons of cordyceps a day or rhodiola in a day, there's going to be some negative effects. There's a balance point of everything. But they're much more self-balancing, especially with something like lion's mane, just so fantastic. It's another one I didn't mention in the list a moment ago, but lion's mane is one of the absolute greatest. Then when you look at some of these synthetic forms of nootropics, I'm concerned that we are stimulating certain areas of the brain without stimulating other mechanisms that are meant in nature to balance it out. You're not going to find synthetic nootropics growing on a tree. Now, I'm not opposed to certain, man-made supplements, but in the case of the brain, which is so sensitive, I would be concerned that with some of these, we don't fully understand all the repercussions. And we may realize 5-10 years from now, when you take this synthetic nootropic, unless you take these 15 others in this right ratio, you can actually end up with certain imbalances. And I think you can get such great benefits from these natural nootropics that I've just been talking about that I don't feel the need at this stage of understanding for a lot of the other ones that are out there on the market. So yeah, that's my stance. I'm a little shy when it comes to some of these synthetic ones, but I feel like there's such an abundance of natural ones that we can access that no need to take the risk necessarily. Okay, is the live stream being recorded and reposted to view later? Yes. So you will be able to view it for the next 24 hours on Instagram. But if you want to see it after that, you can either find it on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel, where it will live in perpetuity until the government decides that Facebook and YouTube just have too much power and they need to be destroyed. Who knows when that might happen. All right. Last question here. Differences between, and this is the last question, so if you have any other questions, guys, out there, now's the time. Final moments. Differences between collagen powder versus peptides. So there is a process where they could take what's essentially a collagen powder to begin with, and that goes under a process called hydrolysis, where it's broken down into the individual peptides, making it much more bioavailable, much easier to absorb. And so from what you're actually taking, you're going to get a lot more benefit out of it. It's easier for the body to uptake and then repurpose for your health needs, whether it's working on your connective tissues or on your skin, wherever it may be going. You're going to have more that's there for you to use. So you're best off taking collagen in the peptide form. Suggestions for a non-toxic skincare line. There's quite a few. Of course, Living Libations is always one of our favorites. And I would go, we have a various different favorites. You can check out for some of a lot of our favorite products, not just skincare, but supplements and all kinds of favorite books. Go to addictivewellness.com/F as in Frank, P as in Paul, FP, and that will take you to a bunch of our different favorite products. If you want to get a discount code for Living Libations, just use the code. I can't remember whether it's addictive or addictive wellness. Go to addictivewellness.com/gift guide and you'll see it right at the top there, and that will get you the discount code for those. They have a spectacular line of products and they're really good friends of ours, and the purity is second to none. Joyous Day says, I love your chocolate, Sage. Going to go make some warm hot chocolate. Oh, fantastic. Hey, if you wouldn't mind, Being a hot chocolate lover, would you go to one of our recent Instagram posts from a couple days ago? Of course, after we finish this video, don't leave me now. One of our recent posts from a few days ago, we did a question of what do you prefer, hot chocolate or chocolate milk? And we'd love to hear people's stories on there of if you have a great like memory associated with whichever one is your favorite. Like I know hot chocolate I have some really fantastic memories of hot chocolate in my childhood that I wrote about in the caption there. So we'd love to get your vote in there. Okay, well, clearly we're not finishing yet because questions keep pouring in, which is fantastic. I got nowhere else to be. I'm just, I got work later, but we're doing this now. This is fun. And we have still 12 minutes before Instagram kicks us off. They only let you go for 1 hour. So best ways to introduce new supplements and herbs to someone who is nervous about having a sensitivity or an allergy. That's a very interesting question. Start with some of the most gentle stuff. I would say, some of the most gentle things in terms of herbs, I would say like reishi and astragalus and tremella are some of the absolute gentlest. So those would be some to start with. And you can start with a small amount. Start with 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then, supplement-wise, you can go with something very also like gentle, like magnesium glycinate. Just get your foot in the door. Find one thing that they're comfortable with, and they can start feeling better, and then we'll get more motivated and kind of open-minded about things. Or go with something like probiotics. If they have tons of sensitivities and allergies, it's very easy to hypothesize that their gut health is maybe an absolute mess. So look at something like that, or something like Restore. I don't know. I was going to say Restore for Life. I got to remember they've rebranded now as Ion Biome. That's going to be very gentle and start closing up the tight junctions in the gut, helping with the leaky gut issues. And that may get them to a better place where they are not so vulnerable. Okay, next question is, what do you recommend for adrenal health? So adrenal health, look at our Recharge chocolate. This is all about the adrenal. This is about building the Jing. And go on our YouTube channel and find a video that is called the 3 Treasures. You can just go on YouTube, search Addictive Wellness 3 Treasures. And this will explain to you the 3 treasure theory of Taoist tonic herbalism. And it will make it a lot easier to understand how to care for your adrenals. So the herbs that we have in our Recharge chocolate, as I mentioned, cordyceps, eucommia, Hoshu Wu, Morinda, Rehmannia. These are the real superpowers. I think I left off one there. Cordyceps, eucommia, Hoshu Wu. Cistanche is the other one I was going to mention. Those are fantastic, depending on the state of one's health. Deer antler and deer placenta, which check those out from Dragon Herbs. Those can be very powerful tools as well. Go very deep. Shilajit, assuming it's high quality and does not have heavy metal toxicity, is another great one there. Sleep. Go hard on sleep. Major sleep. Sleep is the greatest medicine for the adrenals. So that's a big one to focus on the quality of your sleep. There's 2 other videos on our YouTube I want you to watch. Go watch our video all about sleep health to optimize your sleep so that the hours you spend in bed, you're getting the most out of them. Ideally, 7 to 9 hours in there, but whatever amount of hours you get, I want to maximize the amount of time that you spend in deep sleep and REM sleep, and really make sure you're not having too many awakenings, and just make sure it's real quality sleep. Then for your adrenals, also ashwagandha is another great one. Rhodiola, holy basil, these are all very supportive. Minimizing the stress in your life is another big part of it. And then there's a video on our YouTube also all about adrenal health and HPA axis dysregulation. It's a 2-hour video. I did it with 2 good friends of mine, Mason and Dan Sipple, who's a fantastic naturopath in Australia. And we spent 2 hours going into every single detail, looking at it from every single angle, everything that you can do to support adrenal health, endocrine health, the HPA axis. So go watch that. You might have to break it into a few sessions, but work your way through it. There is some real gold in there. Let's see, see if we have any more questions. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join me. I hope there's been some good educational info in here for you. have a wonderful day, and if you have any questions for the future, we'll have the Q&A question box up in our Instagram stories, and look forward to continuing this fantastic experience all together. All right, have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.